Hello, back again, and this time we are going to try again with Ireland first. Um, the website went down the last time I was recording on it, so we'll go again. So we start with the homepage. So, Ireland First, your centre right nationalist party. Welcome to Ireland First official website. We're dedicated to building a better future, championing policies that uplift our community, policies to put the interest of Ireland and our people first, and fostering a political landscape defined by justice and self governance. Discover more about our mission, join our cause, and let's create lasting change together. Get involved today because your choice matters. Great stuff. So, about Ireland First. At Ireland First, we're dedicated to putting Ireland first and working towards a better future for our beloved nation. Led by Derek Bly, a proud Cork native and a committed family man, our party is driven by a passion for change and a deep sense of responsibility towards the Irish people. Responsibility is a word that you very rarely hear, to be honest, these days. Just as I read it there, you very. When is the last time you hear any sort of politician, or even, not even politicians, but doctors, teachers, people you work with, people you know? When do you hear people talk about taking responsibility? Not just telling you what you're responsible for, but speaking about the things that they're responsible for. Refreshing enough. We continue. Derek's journey in politics began organically, an activist fighting against dubious, dangerous policies who was petitioned by followers of his social media channel to start and lead a movement. The everyday people who followed Derek saw a leader. There was a realization that the existing nationalist parties lacked the energy and confrontational approach needed to address the pressing issues facing our country. And this is something that is blatant if you've been following what's been going on in Ireland over the last few years. Whether you disagree with Derek on things or you agree with him on most, one thing you absolutely have to admit about him is he is active, he's bold, he is brave in terms of where he puts himself and the interactions that he has and the situations that he has. Okay, there's a number of people that are, they walk the walk, so to speak. Okay, and Derek is definitely one of them. They saw a need, we continue, they saw a need for a People's Party, one that would truly represent the interests and aspirations of ordinary hard-working Irish men, women and parents who are deeply invested in the future of their children. Quote, our country has been entrusted to the wrong people for far too long, Derek affirms. Career politicians have consistently let us down, and it is time for the people, the true backbone of Ireland, to take matters into their own hands. Now, you could be nodding and going, yeah, heard it all before. Because in a way, what people, so you've the current system and the way it's ran, or the way they've been running it, and you have the apparatus around that, right? So you elect me, I go in here to represent you, and then I don't have to follow a thing that you wanted me to do. Because what are you going to do about it, right? So it's easy to be a little bit cynical and go, well, what will you do differently? Because you're stepping in to take the reins of those, or from those who've had the reins, which looks like total power over me. So why would I trust you to get in there and do any different than what the people have done before? Valid question. And I suppose there's no answer to that. Experience will is the only answer that can be given to that question, because you never know until you find out, really, you know. So, but I'll get back to something about that, which is interesting here, because I don't think I've seen it too often referenced. We continue. Ireland First is a grassroots movement that puts the power back into the hands of the people. We believe in active participation in the political process and direct democracy as the pillars of our movement. Through mandatory regular meetings held in each constituency, we provide a platform for the voices of the Irish people to be heard. Your comments, questions and concerns will be brought to the Dáil on behalf of your local community, ensuring that decisions reflect the needs of the people they affect. We understand that a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work in a diverse country like Ireland, and we're committed to representing the interests of each and every constituency, rural and urban. So, through mandatory regular meetings. I don't know if he means that these would be mandatory for the people in that area, or whether it'd be mandatory for the party to continue to have these. I'm not sure on that. But the interesting one is, where's it gone? The direct democracy one. It's just after vanishing before my eyes and I can't see it. Yeah. So we believe in active participation in the political process and direct democracy as the pillars of our movement. So just a little quick Wikipedia, again, pinch of salt, but what is direct democracy? Direct democracy, or pure democracy, is a form of democracy in which the electorate decides on policy initiatives without elected representatives as proxies. This differs from the majority of currently established democracies, which are representative democracies. The theory and practice of direct democracy and participation as its common characteristic constituted the core work of many philosophers and theorists, right? So, just a quick line here. In direct democracy, the people decide on policies without any intermediary or representative, whereas in a representative democracy, people vote for representatives who then enact policy initiatives. Okay? So the difference, I think Switzerland runs that. So there's a picture there of Switzerland. They even vote on, in some instances, on the amount of tax they're willing to pay. Right? They have gun rights. They have pretty secure enough country by any meaningful metric. But the difference then is, you look at Helen McEntee. Just say you voted for her because she said a couple of things you liked, and then she got into power, and she's gone and she's trying to criminalize you thinking things. Are they policies that you would have voted for her, or you would have got behind her because of those policies? Would they have come from you? Probably not. Okay, and if they would have, continue on voting for who you're voting for. But the point of it is, a direct democracy, it limits the ability of politicians to get in there and then turn their backs on everything they promise the people, because they don't come up with the ideas. They don't, like, look at the last few referendums. How many people really asked for these things? Were these real grassroots, a real innate and organic thriving towards destroying our definition of the family in the Constitution of Ireland? Are these things that the average person wanted? No. But this is what you get when you have representative democracy. People that represent you. You don't have to tell us what you want. We'll decide what you want. That kind of a thing, right? So direct democracy it's a nuanced version of it, and it's a nice little addition here. So, get involved, join today. What are they selling? Give us the pitch. Are you passionate about putting Ireland first? Do you want to actively contribute to shaping the future of our great nation? Join Ireland First today and become an integral part of our movement. As a member of Ireland First, you will have the chance to actively participate in the political process. Your voice will be heard, and your opinions will help shape our policies. Together we will work towards reforming the political system, protecting Irish culture and heritage, and advocating for the rights of our fellow citizens. Joining Ireland First is more than just a membership. It is an opportunity to be part of a community of like-minded individuals who are committed to making a positive impact. Together we will engage in discussions and foster direct democracy, ensuring that the concerns and aspirations of Irish citizens are heard and represented. Don't wait for change to happen, be the change. Join Ireland First today and contribute to building a stronger, more prosperous Ireland. Together we will rise and create a future where Ireland truly comes first. So, we will go into principles. At Ireland First, we are driven by a set of principles that guide our every step toward a brighter future for Ireland. These principles form the foundation of our movement, shaping our policies and actions as we strive to put Ireland and its people first. Objectives. nice to know where people are aimed at, right? So the core objectives of our party revolve around promoting our 6 fundamental principles through active participation in the political process and engaging the public through direct democracy. This is an interesting thing as well. So at what point, if you were being really, really honest, right? Okay, so hypothetically, if people that were in control and in positions of control and positions of authority and power in Ireland, vis-a-vis the politicians, right? If they were legitimately concerned with developing the best possible way of running the country, of managing the infrastructure in the country, and exacting the most potential and the most talent out of the people of that country, at what point would you look at a 50% turnout from the populace in terms of making decisions on the future of the country? At what point would you look at that and say half the people couldn't be bothered? Would you not naturally go and look at that and say there's something dodgy about either one? Could be a few things, right? But it's either people don't care, in which case why would you bother having a democracy? Come out and be honest about it. Since half you don't vote, it's not a democracy. We're running things. Simple as, right? Or second one, the system is so unbelievably toxic and stubborn in its unyielding and unchanging nature, continues ploughing ahead regardless of who's there, right? That people have decided we don't want to engage in that. At what point do you decide that the system is broke, or the people are broke, or one is broke because of the other, or both are broke, right? So the idea of getting people more involved, I suppose if you're under a democracy, that's always a good thing, isn't it not? Otherwise, what's the point in claiming you're a democracy if half the people are not interested? So, at Ireland First, we firmly believe that direct democracy is the cornerstone of our movement. Recognising the diverse needs and perspectives of different regions, we understand that policies designed for urban areas may not be suitable or practical for rural communities. To bridge this gap, we prioritise local level engagement by hosting regular town hall meetings, allowing constituents to voice their concerns and put questions directly to their elected representatives. This is something that is so obvious, it's so close to us that a lot of us miss it. Or we accept it without questioning what happens or what is the reality of this situation in action. And what I'm talking about is what was mentioned here, recognising the diverse needs and perspectives of different regions in Ireland, right? So currently we have centralised government, which is the decisions are made in Dublin by people nearly live, work, born in Dublin, or they become Dublin, right? And what's going on in Dublin City has got very little to do with what's going on in Fethard and Tipperary, or in Doolin. They're very, very different places. They're very, very different people. They're very, very different communities. Right? So applying a one-size-fits-all sort of style of governance across a whole country, even one as small as Ireland, because as small and all as Ireland is, in terms of the differences between people's towns and different cities and counties, it's massive. You might as well be talking about the United States, because different counties are different counties and people from different counties are different people, right? Each county looks at themselves as nearly a sovereign entity, right? And beyond that, it's all lower than I, right? And great, and there's beautiful stuff in that. So the idea of having more of a provincial or a regional government local government, empowering local governments more and allowing them to be able to combat any rulings or any declarations coming from Dublin and the Dáil. That is only a positive thing. It's also something that's very innate to us, because Ireland has always been run, nearly always, according to provinces, right? So you have the 5 provinces in Ireland: Munster, Connacht, Leinster and Ulster. And you had Meath then in the centre, right? Mid, means middle, the heart of, it's the middle of the country, right? All roads lead to Meath. And you had a High King there. But it wasn't the High King ruling over the 4 different provinces and dictating to them. That wasn't the case. It would be there where you would settle matters between the different provinces and stuff, right? So there'd be a general flavour coming from the High King or the central province of Meath. But it wasn't like it is now, where what the High King says goes totally across all provinces, all counties and all tribes. That wasn't the case. And you still see this in GAA. You see it really exemplified in GAA, that we are a county country, as not instead of, but probably more so. We identify with our counties probably more so than we do with our country. And that doesn't mean we have no national allegiance. It just means we tend to be Tipperary people or Kilkenny people or Cork people first, and then we're Irish people, right? Especially when it comes to competition. So it's interesting, and it's nice to have that reflected in what Ireland First is saying here, okay? Because again, you're looking for something new. You're looking for something fresh. Make up your own mind about it again then, but whatever. So these valuable discussions serve as a platform for citizens to actively participate in shaping the decisions that affect their lives. The insights and feedback gathered from these meetings are then conveyed to the Dáil, ensuring that the voices and aspirations of local communities are well represented in the legislative process. Again, you'd like to see, and maybe they'll get into it, but you would like to see what is the okay, so meetings will be conveyed to the Dáil. So if the person you're after electing is not carrying out what they're doing, how do you remedy that? So I'd like to be seeing something mentioned around that. Or is it just a case of, well, just go away for the next time? So at Ireland First, we embrace the understanding that one size does not fit all. By fostering direct democracy and promoting active engagement, we strive to create a political system that listens, responds and truly serves the needs of our communities. So, 6 core principles. The nation of Ireland belongs to the Irish people. Padraig Pearse once proclaimed, "Nothing that has happened or can ever happen can alter the truth of it. Ireland belongs to the Irish." This sentiment resonates deeply within Ireland First, as we firmly believe that the island of Ireland, its seas, skies and natural resources belong solely to the Irish people. This is massive as well. And this is something that should be brought up in the Dáil far more regularly than it is. I don't think I've heard a conversation around this in a long time. We got massive loans from the EU, or the EEC, whatever you want to call it, right? We also took on a massive debt along with those loans, right? So each loan comes with interest that needs to be repaid to it. So if I borrow €100 from you, from a bank, and there's 10% interest, so I have to pay back €110, there's €10 there that is created out of thin air. I might accumulate that €100 back to be able to pay you back, but there's still another 10% that I need to go and find somewhere. So if Ireland is after taking, say, 10 billion, nice even number, we got 10 billion from the EEC, and we then need to pay back 12 billion. The reason we got the 10 billion is because we had no money, right? We had no money, otherwise we wouldn't have needed the loan. So now not only have we got the 10 billion we need to pay back, we also need to pay back the whatever percentage is on top of that, which means we need to find this money out of somewhere. because it's been created out of thin air. We were given 10 billion, which means we have 10 billion. Now we have the debt of 10 billion, which we have here, 10 billion, but we also have the interest on that debt. But we don't have the money. We don't have the same amount of money to be able to pay back the 10 billion plus the debt, the interest. Banks work this way, right? So this is what happens. So in order to be able to assure that these debts will be paid back, what ends up happening is that smaller countries' natural resources get put up as collateral, right? You have to privatise them. Irish Water, this sort of stuff. You have to privatise them, and then foreign companies can come in and buy them. So they end up buying your forestry, they end up buying your land, they end up running your NCT centres, they end up owning the tolls on the roads. So this is the price that we paid. We got cash, we gave up our natural resources. Okay? And how far that goes then we will see. But we continue. It's nice that this has been addressed though. Our mission is to advocate for increased use of the Irish language, promote Irish culture, music and a strong sense of Irish identity through various channels, including the education system, mainstream and social media. We also advocate for legislation that requires immigrants to respect our customs and laws. I don't know what that would look like. I think all we need is the truth, as far as I'm concerned. All we need is the truth. We don't need to be protected. We don't need to have laws that say this is the Irish way and therefore it's protected and you're not allowed to speak ill against that. We just need the ability to not be censored, to not be threatened financially or professionally by speaking the truth, for speaking the truth. That's all we need. The rest balances itself out, right? So if you have a set of terrible ideas coming into this country, but you're not allowed to criticise them because you could go to jail for criticising a set of terrible ideas, then those sets of terrible ideas will continue to grow and grow and grow. And those sets of terrible ideas will then suffocate the less terrible ideas or counter ideas to the terrible ideas, right? But if you have a set of terrible ideas coming into the country and the natives or anyone is allowed to criticise them openly and honestly and not feel the fear or not feel fear of pushback from the state or from the guards or from solicitors or any of that stuff, within reason, like you're allowed, if you can openly criticise things and tell the truth about things without fear of condemnation or without fear of reprieve, then, or retaliation, then things balance themselves out. So, and again, I'm always a little bit cautious about, in order to assure something good, we give the state more power to create more laws. I'm a little bit hesitant about that. I just believe we need to get rid of any two-tiered justice system, two-tier treatment of different peoples or different sets of ideas. You should all be able to openly criticise, evaluate and critique any set of ideas without any of the fear of the other stuff, right? And again, nature will balance itself out then. The truth is infectious. So, in our pursuit of a unified Ireland encompassing all 32 counties, we approach this goal with respect and encourage a referendum that reflects the will of the people living both north and south of the border. We would engage in meaningful political dialogue with the Government of Northern Ireland, aiming to foster understanding and unity. This is a long-term goal, appreciating that communities in Northern Ireland have deep roots and connections to a foreign nation. No one can be left out and all must be respected. That seems like such a tomorrow issue, really, doesn't it? But we continue. When it comes to immigration, we firmly believe in the necessity of borders to safeguard the security and integrity of our nation. We support immigration policies that benefit our country rather than burden our welfare system, ensuring that the non-Irish population does not exceed 10%. Unfortunately, government corruption has allowed this threshold to be surpassed, and we seek to address this issue. Yeah, you kind of fall back on the same thing though. So if you have a group of these politicians and they became corrupt, or were they corrupt before they got into politics? That's why they went in, or did they become corrupted along the way? Either way, the effect is the same. What's stopping the same thing from happening to you, right? So checks and balances. So I ask myself, what would we need to see before we could put our heads up high and our hands up and say, yeah, we're a serious people again. We're a serious country. One of those things is justice. Is justice. So if we all know it as well, we talk like so politicians are corrupt, which means they're liars, they're deceitful people, they're thieves. They lie to you and steal from you. That's what you're saying. That's what we all kind of know. That these people are abusing their position, they're abusing the trust that you may have put in them, they're abusing people's backing with their votes, they're getting in there, they're stealing a living off you, they're lying to your face about how they're making their money, they're creating situations and laws even that benefit them and their friends and their family. Like, that's what you mean when you say that these people are corrupt. So what do you do with that? Because I don't think it's just enough to be able to go, right, look, we voted them out and maybe you might come back to fight another day, lads. That's not enough. Like, you need to see real solid hard consequences for what has been happening to this country and the Irish people over the last few years, right? In particular. Although it began way before that, and we need to get into that as well. So, but yeah, the immigration thing, obviously, you can't leave your front door open and the neighbours just continuously come in and get breakfast at your table and you never say no. The gate is always open, the front door is always unlocked and wide open, and people can just come in and eat out of your fridge all day long with no restrictions. At a certain point you can't feed yourself. Simple as that. Simple as that. And again, look, if you expect me to accept something on a national level that you're not willing to accept on a personal level, then go on away with yourself. In order for me to even give you the time of day in what you're saying of open borders and bring people in and we should have no restrictions and no nation states, and refugees, we should bring them in and take care of them and look after them endlessly. We've no figures on the numbers. We've no ceiling on how big this thing could go. But yet you're not willing to take anyone into your house and pay off your own back. You're not even willing to have them in your own areas. No. Go on away with yourself. And you expect me to accept that. No thanks. You're going to jail. Simple as that. You're going to jail. You're a criminal. You're 100% a criminal if you're trying to force something through your office onto the backs of people that you won't accept in your area or you won't accept in your life. Go away, you're a criminal. Instantly a criminal. And you should pay the prices of that. Obviously. So, so at Ireland First, we're committed to tackling homelessness. It is our belief that no Irish citizen should be without a home. Recognising the challenges some homeless individuals face, such as substance abuse or mental health issues, we advocate for the provision of safe accommodation by the state, coupled with the necessary assistance to help them rebuild their lives. Can't complain with that. Look, we've massive issues in this country. We generational issues of, and not to play the poor victim card, but generational abuse and the consequences of that, it's just a reality. It doesn't mean you want free things or you should be given preferential treatment, but it's okay to speak about the reality of these things. Because when you get old enough as well, like, you kind of look around and you study some of the families you would have grown up with, and you learn a little bit more about that family's history and your own family's history, and things can kind of click a little bit, right? So we've probably all seen the case where schizophrenic is a good example. So some schizophrenics you meet, you might not understand what's going on or how they ended up like that, or if there was a reason for them ending up like that. But more often than not, when you go and look into their family history, how they were brought up, how their parents are brought up, you see devastation across it. And what tends to happen is every generation or two, there's one, I won't say fragile mind, there's one more susceptible mind in the family that just ends up splitting into pieces. You know? It's very hard to go and measure that and prove that, but you can just observe it and see. You know, there's a breaking point, and it tends to be one or two people that bear nearly the collective brunt and pressures of the family, the issues in the family, the unspoken things, the secrets we all must keep, right? And the secrets we must wear, like a wet, heavy blanket that just burdens us. There tends to be one person or one or two people in the family, it just disintegrates their minds, right? And it's an awful thing to see. It's an awful thing to see. So dealing with homelessness, like, no one wants to grow up to be homeless. That's no one's aspiration in life, right? So horrible things have happened to the vast majority of people that are sleeping on the streets, and continue to happen to them because of the circumstances they now find themselves in, right? The horrible things have happened. A lot of the times people end up living homeless because it's safer than being at home for them. Sleeping on the streets is safer than being at home with their family. Right? It's not a choice. It's a choice taken out of pure necessity. It's a survival choice. Right? And until we kind of pull our heads down from the clouds and stop smelling our own gases and start to realise that each person you see in that situation, that's a destroyed family. You're probably talking generations of horribleness, right? Awful stories. And we see it. We see it on the streets, like, and we deny that they are my brother, and we deny that they are my sister, and we deny that we have any relation to that sort of extended family of Irish people. That's not, no. They're scum, they're dirt, like. They're nothing like me. I go to work, so don't you know? Right. Who's the more honest one, though? Do you know what I mean? Who's the more honest one? You look, largely, go and talk to a homeless person. Largely you get some great conversations out of them. They have no reason to hide anything. Their struggles are on full show. They are shown to the world that I'm not doing well. What else have I got to hide? I'll talk to you honestly. I'll speak to you human to human. It's a lot more than you get down the pub off people. Right? But anyway, yeah, a massive issue needs to be addressed, because there's a lot of lost light there. You know, just because you went through struggles doesn't mean you don't have anything to offer. There's some really, really good people in the world that, through no fault of their own, they're born into horrible consequences, and they've suffered, and they've been broken, and they've been badly damaged, and they've ended up in situations they probably never wanted, and they probably never thought they'd end up in, but there they are. But they could be good people. More than likely they are. Because horrible people don't feel the sting of life that genuine, honest people do. Right? You know the idea you can't kill a bad thing? That idea. Or the horrible ones seem to last longer, because they've clear consciences. Their heads don't weigh heavy on the bed when they go to sleep. They clear conscience. Nothing they do phases them, so they don't carry the burdens of guilt and shame that more honourable or honest people do, right? So, regarding citizenship, we continue. We view it as a privilege rather than an entitlement. We firmly believe that exceptional individuals who have genuinely contributed to our country and have not engaged in fraudulent applications should be granted citizenship. However, in cases of fraud or misconduct, citizenship should be refused or revoked based on individual circumstances. At Ireland First, we stand unwavering in our commitment to preserving Irish identity, protecting national interests and addressing critical issues facing our nation. So, what's interesting with that as well is when you're dealing with principles, you're trying to find principles, or which principle are we operating on? So what is the common ground? What is the truth of the issue that we're working towards, or we're working from? Juxtapose what's happening on a national level with what if it was to happen in your house, right? So an individual house and a nation. You own your house. You invite a guest in because they're good at cleaning. So they clean your house and they're allowed to stay there, bed and board, right? Because they clean the house and look after it. When would you decide to give that person equal shares in your house? Would there ever be a time where you would think, do you know what I'll do? I'll give this person 50-50 shares in my house. 50-50 ownership with me. When would you ever think of doing that? You wouldn't. You'd be out of your mind to do something like that. That person would always be there at your pleasure. Up until the point where you no longer want them to be there, okay? Because it's your property. They're a guest of yours. Now, extrapolate that up to the national level. The same thing should apply. You come to this country, you're a guest here. You don't get the same voting rights. Your votes certainly do not weigh the same as an Irish person's should. Because this is their home. This is their homeland. You're a guest here. And one thing I found which is just scandalous, was the time of the water protests. I remember hearing from people that they would have been talking to people from Eastern Europe and those sort of countries, right? Not those sort of countries. Those countries from that area, right? And all that implies, okay? And they were arguing that why don't the Irish people pay for their water? Or why shouldn't they pay for their water? Because we do back home. This is the problem. None of your business. So you're here as a guest and you're going to vote, should a vote come, you're going to vote according to the standards of the country and the people you've come from. That you left. You left there to come here. And now you want to drag what you left over here and change our country. Right? And it's also, there's a cheek that comes along with it. That you could go into someone's house and begin to operate as if you're a co-owner. Absolutely not. That's not normal. That is not natural. It doesn't operate. That doesn't happen in any other walk of life. But yet we've been confused enough and we've been coerced enough and just manipulated enough to begin to believe that it's the principle is somehow different when we're talking about a country. It shouldn't be, because it's not. So yeah, absolutely. And this is just common sense. This has got nothing to do with race. This has got nothing to do with anything. Just on a purely pragmatic level. Those who are going to benefit the country and the people in it, we'll take you in, so long as you understand that you're a guest here, and so long as you understand that should the day come when you're no longer a benefit to us, you'll be asked to leave. That's just obvious. That is the way you should carry yourself anyway. And it's not just we'll apply this for people coming to Ireland. Because the reaction you get from people, Irish people then is, sure, isn't there illegals over in America? Irish illegals overstaying their visas in America? Yeah. And if they're caught, they should be sent home. Same applies. The standards need to apply across all instances. Otherwise, you're not dealing with principles at all. You're dealing with whatever. Nonsense. You're not even having a conversation. So if I go into a country and break the law, I would expect to be kicked out of that country because I'm there as a guest and I've disrespected the host. Simple as that. Away you go. Because there's also the issue then of like the brain drain, right? I don't mean that that's not a real thing. I just mean that that's the name of it, right? So the brain drain. So you have what's wrong with taking in people from Nigeria because they're coming here and they're being doctors and they're coming here and they're being whatever. They're a great benefit to the country in areas and skill sets that we might be lacking in. Fair enough. But is that fair on their country? So if you're telling me that we're accepting the best and the brightest of different nations and different races, and that's why we should be more open and accepting to all of these things and immigration as a whole and as it might go in the future. Fair enough. But what about that person's native country? So they're now losing a doctor. We're taking a doctor away from them. Is that fair? And also, there's a doctor in Ireland now that's gone. So you see the amount of people that are after leaving for Australia, the amount of nurses and doctors, and just people from all walks of life and all sorts of occupations that have left Australia, Canada, New Zealand, all that sort of stuff, America maybe, right? What's the point of that? Is that a positive thing? I'm not sure. I don't believe so. And this is back to the point of it as well. So can we at least have an honest conversation about it? And this is what all like the hate speech, all that stuff of muddying the waters and calling you names if you bring up a certain conversation. That's what that's about. It's to not let Irish people have an open conversation amongst ourselves about what we're seeing, what our experience of that is, and what we would like to see in the future. Because once you start to speak openly and honestly about it, the solutions come to hand. So if you're in a position that you want to protect the status quo, you have to kill that conversation from happening. And you throw out all sorts of different stories and distractions and different things that are happening. Look over here, don't be talking about this. Don't be talking about your ability to decide anything, right? So, Ireland independence. At Ireland First, the primary objective is to ensure that Ireland operates as a sovereign and self-sustaining nation. Great. Free from the influence of unelected bureaucrats and external organisations. While we believe that Ireland should leave the EU, also a long-term goal, this decision will not be made in isolation. We are committed to putting it to a referendum to guide our path forward. I suppose it's not a belief, I would be making the assumption that if Ireland tried to leave the EU would strangle Ireland to death. We would go back, we would have a famine. I believe that wholeheartedly, that they would try and starve us to death. Because they make too much money off us, right? And also, it would be such a massive thing for Ireland to stand up for itself and to say, you know what, this whole EU thing, not working for us, that other countries would really listen to that. I believe they would. I believe they'd follow suit. Because you see that the long drawn out tactics of trying to manipulate the English people into going back and asking for a second vote on Brexit, and the size of England compared to Ireland in terms of power, influence and economy even. So any sort of question about Ireland leaving the EU, I think we should leave the EU unless the EU is willing to totally change its outlook, its aims, and it's how it operates. But I don't think it will, because I don't think it was designed to do that. It was designed for exactly what you see now, which is, again, centralized authority, big block nation, continent-sized tyranny, right? So EU law supersedes national law. So any law that Ireland might make, if it's not in line with what the EU want, we won't be. You're not allowed to have it. We're not allowed to have it. Okay, it's as simple as that. So just on that point alone, we should leave the EU. But I think there'd be dire consequences for it. So that doesn't mean we shouldn't because of a threat. It means that if we are going to, it means we might have a generation, 10, 15, 20 years, where we would need to prepare and become self-sustaining before we make that move, right? So the decision to leave the EU will ultimately be determined through a future referendum. It is essential to note that Ireland's stance on neutrality ensures that we remain net neutral, unlike the costly divorce experienced by the UK due to their lack of net neutrality. And you can see the push to put Irish people off of that in the last year or two as well. We won't even get into that now. To achieve this vision, we have developed a detailed and comprehensive set of policies. These policies address crucial areas that impact our nation's independence and well-being. Addressing the energy crisis is of paramount importance to us. We advocate for the revival of power stations and the utilisation of turf as a valuable energy source. We are open to exploring the feasibility of nuclear power, recognising its potential to fuel Ireland's energy needs. Additionally, we assert the need for energy independence, ensuring that decisions about our energy future are made in the best interest of the Irish people. Again, rock solid, basic, fundamental stuff. Like, so how do you heat yourself? Like, we're standing on the fuel that we have to heat ourselves, but we're not allowed to do that anymore. Going away. Nonsense. But bring in a load of chipboard from Brazil and burn that instead. Nonsense stuff. So, in the face of the climate change narrative, we are dedicated to combating destructive climate change policies. We firmly believe in supporting our farmers, acknowledging their vital role in food production and environmental stewardship. As EU laws loom ahead, we will ensure that the interests of our farmers and their livelihoods are protected. Great. Food security is a pressing concern, and we are resolute in placing our farmers back at the heart of our food supply. By supporting local agriculture, we can promote self-sufficiency and safeguard our nation's food sovereignty. You work with the hands that you have, and we have a gold mine of a country here in terms of growing things, in terms of natural resources, and in terms of the plants, the vegetables, the food, the things that grow here, the trees, the wildlife, all that stuff. This is an Eden of a country. So neutrality is a core principle we advocate for. Going forward, Ireland First aims to resume our position within the EU as a trading bloc, rather than being subjected to laws that compromise our economic and cultural interests. We seek to protect our national autonomy while actively engaging in beneficial trade relationships. Common sense. Rock solid common sense. So the EEC or the EU began as an open market, a free market for economic trade. It would speed up the process, and it would make trade and maybe travel a little bit easier for people. And now all of a sudden, that's turned into you take in these tens of thousands of people, or you pay us billions, right? That's where we are, right? So great. Allow us to retain the advantages of the economic trades, so long as they're there, and any of the rest of it, no, go on away with yourself. We give in more than we take out, so be your loss. If we leave, we'll go and strike up trade partnerships with other countries. Common sense. So at Ireland First, we hold a pro-life stance on a sensitive issue that demands careful consideration. We recognise the previous referendums did not provide a comprehensive resolution on this matter. Therefore, we firmly believe that it is crucial to allow the people's voice to be heard through a future referendum. Our commitment to I would do as Donald Trump has done in America, and I would like to see this be put back onto counties. County by county. Are you in favour of abortion? Do you want abortion in your town? I don't think it should be dropped like a tablecloth across the whole country. I think it should go county by county. And it should also go doctor by doctor. Like, if a doctor doesn't want to perform that, I don't think they should be compelled to. Our commitment to the pro-life cause is reinforced by a set of policies that will be extensively developed and detailed in the coming months. Central to these policies is the provision of unbiased information representing both sides of the abortion debate. We believe that the people should have access to objective and balanced resources to make informed decisions about this critical issue. We firmly advocate for a referendum that allows for a thorough examination of the subject, including the exploration of potential strict restrictions. While we do not support abortion, we acknowledge the importance of putting this matter to a referendum at an appropriate time in the future. It is through this democratic process that the people can express their views and contribute to shaping the direction of our nation's policies. Nice in terms of allowing yourself to remain open to the largest potential audience. And this isn't necessarily a comment on Ireland First, but it's a greater conversation. Yet, support the idea of giving people as much choice and as much power to exercise that choice as possible. But on such a conversation of abortion where you're stopping a life willingly, there's extremes in all sorts of conversations, and I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the fact that we've had, I think, 30,000 abortions since this has come in. Now, you can't convince me that all of these fall under the category of the extremes in relation to abortion. That's a lot of babies whose lives were taken away. They didn't ask to be conceived, nor did they ask to be aborted, but yet their life was taken away. I'm not sure if even... I don't believe you should get a vote on such a matter. I really don't. I really don't. And the idea of kind of blowing with the wind in terms of where most people will fall in relation to voting on that. A slippery slope. Slippery slope. But look. Protection of the family unit. At Ireland First, we firmly believe in upholding the fundamental principle that parents are the primary educators of their children, as outlined in Bunrock na hÉireann. We are dedicated to safeguarding the innocence of children and ensuring that parents' rights in shaping their children's education are respected and protected. To achieve this, we will introduce policies aimed at promoting and financially supporting the growth of the Irish family unit. One area of focus is recognising parents as the sole educators of the children. We advocate for preserving the parents' pivotal role in imparting knowledge, values and beliefs to their children. This does not imply an anti-trans stance. Rather, it emphasises the importance of respecting parents' rights to educate their children on sensitive topics such as sex education, according to their own values and beliefs. Furthermore, we believe that discussions on gender identity or TQ+ topics should not be pushed onto children in schools. In agreement. If you're being met with a topic or a situation or a set of beliefs or views, and any critique of them or any questioning of that set of beliefs is met with name calling and violence and aggression, then that set of beliefs has to go. If you abide by a set of beliefs so vehemently and so with such faith that you can't handle them even being questioned without reacting aggressively or with violence, then I would think that every measure should be taken to strangle that set of beliefs and choke it out of existence, because it's dangerous. Doesn't matter what the set of beliefs are, they are dangerous. If you cannot handle having your beliefs questioned or having somebody apply a different moral standard than you're used to your beliefs without reacting in an unsociable or uncivilized manner, then that set of beliefs is dangerous. And that person is very, very dangerous. So absolutely, I do not believe that these set of beliefs should then be introduced to children. Absolutely not. Particularly given the messenger of these people. If you want a good way of looking at the worth of a set of beliefs or a worldview is to look at the messengers who carry that message. It tells you a lot, right? So, Constitutional Republic. At Ireland First, our core mission is to promote and protect the invaluable principles of freedom of expression and civil liberties. We firmly believe in the right of every individual to freely express their thoughts and opinions without fear of censorship or persecution. To uphold these fundamental values, we are committed to strengthening the constitutional rights of freedom of expression, movement and association. Furthermore, we champion the freedom of individuals, emphasising the importance of personal liberties in our society. We stand against unnecessary lockdowns that restrict the basic rights and freedoms of our citizens. While we recognise the need to prioritise public health and safety, we believe that measures should be proportionate, transparent and respectful of individual freedoms. Law reform. At Ireland First, we are dedicated to addressing the imbalances within our legal system to ensure fairness and equality for all. We recognise the need to rectify contradictory laws that often impose disproportionate penalties for minor offences compared to more serious crimes. Our goal is to rebalance these discrepancies and promote a just and proportionate approach to law enforcement. In cases where crimes are committed by foreign-born nationals, we firmly believe in taking decisive action to protect the well-being and safety of our society. As part of our policies, we advocate for immediate revocation of citizenship and mandatory deportation once the sentence has been served. This ensures that those who violate our laws and compromise the security of our nation are held accountable for their actions. Central to our principles is the concept of equality before the law. We firmly believe that every individual should be treated fairly and impartially, regardless of their gender, civil status, family status, sexual orientation, disability, religion, age, race, or membership of the traveller community. Our commitment to equality drives us to advocate for policies that eliminate discrimination and ensure that justice is served without prejudice. Our policies will serve as a framework to create a fair and just legal system that reflects the values and aspirations of Irish people. All rock solid stuff. So, Irish people, we are just people. We are a people who have always had an incredibly respectful relationship with the law and with justice. And to see what this country has turned into now is scandalous. So every week you will see, nearly bar none, nearly every week you'll see a story of people who have been given a suspended sentence for abusing children, for committing the worst sort of acts against children. And that's not good enough. Okay, so you also see people who are being arrested for protesting and they've been given fines and are having their name and information splashed all over newspapers because they are engaged in a constitutionally protected activity. That's not good enough. And I think, again, the question, what would we need to be seeing in order for us to be able to say that we're a serious, mature people again? You would need to see the judges who are handing out these sentences investigated. You would need their bank accounts audited. All that sort of stuff, right? And I think that they should face capital punishment if they are found to be acting contrary to what their oath of office is, or to what the Constitution of Ireland is, or to be engaged in acts or be engaged in decision makings that directly impact the safety of Irish people and the future of Irish people. I think that the punishment should be severe, should be public, and it should be swift. And that goes for all who are engaged in the subversion, the weakening, the undermining, and the total abuse and psychological manipulation of a people's mind, a collective psyche. To try and destroy that is a disgusting thing. It is an act of genocide. People don't like that. They like the word ethnocide sometimes. Split the difference. Split the difference. I'm talking about the eradication or the destruction of part or whole of a people, a group of people. call it whatever you want. You know, you can fall into the linguistic game all you want to kind of miss the meaning of what's actually going on, right? So that is Derek Bly and Ireland First. So they are at irelandfirst.ie. You can go on and have a look. So again, just outline some of the policies or some of the principles, and you can take it from there, right? It's just, it shows you that there's options out there. You can go and have a look at this yourself. You can go and get in contact if you want. You can go and donate to them if you want. You can go and vote for them if you want. You can go and get involved if you want. But try and get our arms around as much information as possible, because then we can make actual decisions. If you don't feel like you have a party or a person that you want to vote for in an upcoming election, that's sad. That's sad. You can't please everyone, obviously, but if there's not even obvious differences, there's no obvious choice or opposition choice to the status quo, then why would you bother? You wouldn't, and that's why you see such terrible turnouts as 50% of people, right? So that's that. Enjoy your day.